Good day, everyone. So, I was tasked to deliver the last two topics of our group report. But before anything else, let me first introduce myself. My name is Maya Angela Di Valenza. I'm 19 years old, and my likes and hobbies are singing, watching movies, listening to music, cooking, baking, and eating. And my life verse is from Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and the future. So enough with my introduction, and let us now proceed to my report. My first topic is RA 7277. So what is RA 7277? Republic Act 7277 is known as the Magna Carta for Disabled Persons. It was approved on March 24, 1992, and it is an act providing for the rehabilitation, self-development, and self-reliance of disabled persons and their integration into the mainstream society and for other purposes. Disabled persons are part of the Philippine society. Thus, the Senate shall give full support to the improvement of the total well-being of disabled persons and their integration into the mainstream society. Disabled persons have the same rights as other people to take their proper place in society. They should live freely and as dependently as possible. So who are the PWDs or persons with disabilities? PWDs are those suffering from restrictions or different activities as a result of a mental, physical, or sensory impairment to perform an activity in a manner or within the range considered normal for a human being. So PWD includes those who have long-term mental, physical, intellectual, or sensory impairment, which in interaction with various barriers may hinder their full and effective participation in society on equal basis with others. So there are 7 rights and privileges for PWDs. These include education, political and civil rights, health, accessibility, auxiliary social services, telecommunications, and employment. Education. Education recognizes the rights of persons with disability to quality education and opportunities to develop their abilities and skills to thrive in life. The Department of Education shall establish in at least one government-owned vocational and technical school in every province, a special vocational and technical training school for disabled persons. Every person with disability has the right to learn and have knowledge like us, typical learners. Political and civil rights recognize the rights of persons with disabilities to vote and be assisted by a person of his choice in voting in the national or local elections. The state shall recognize the right of disabled persons to participate in processions, rallies, parades, assemblages, or other form of mass or concerted action held in public. The state recognizes the rights of disabled persons to form organizations or associations to promote their welfare and advance their or safeguard their interests. Health. Reinforce the rights of persons with disability to attain the disability prevention, recognition, early diagnosis of disability, and rehabilitation. The Department of Health shall establish medical rehabilitation centers in government provincial hospitals and shall include it in the annual appropriation of the necessary funds for the operation of such centers. The state shall protect and promote the right to health of disabled persons and shall adopt an integrated and comprehensive approach to their health development, which shall make essential health services available to them at affordable costs. Accessibility. Ensure the attainment of the barrier-free environment that will enable them to have access in public and private buildings and establishments. Disabled persons should be allowed to drive motor vehicles subject to the rules and regulations issued by the Land Transportation Office. The Department of Social Welfare and Development shall develop a program to assist marginalized disabled persons gain access in the use of public transportation facilities. Auxiliary social services. The state shall ensure that marginalized persons are provided with the necessary auxiliary services that will restore their social functioning and participation in community affairs. Toward this end, the Department of Social Welfare and Development shall develop and implement programs on auxiliary social services that respond to the needs of marginalized disabled persons. Telecommunications. Enabling access to telecommunications and technology to promote and implement accessibility for PWD's specific needs. Television stations shall be encouraged to provide a sign language inset or subtitles in at least one newscast program a day and special program covering events of national significance. Employment. No disabled persons shall be denied access to opportunities for suitable employment. A qualified disabled employee shall be subject to the same terms and conditions of employment and the same compensation, privileges, benefits, fringe benefits, incentives, or allowances as a qualified able-bodied person. 5% of all casual, emergency, and contractual positions in the Department of Social Welfare and Development, Health, Education, Culture, and Sports, and other government agencies, offices, or corporations engaged in social development shall be reserved for disabled persons. Now let us proceed to the Republic Act 9442. RA 9442 is also known as the Magna Carta for disabled persons and other purposes. It was approved by President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo on April 30, 2007. This act is about granting additional privileges and incentives on verbal, nonverbal ridicule and vilification against persons with disability. A new chapter to be denominated as Chapter 8, Other Privileges and Incentives, is hereby added to Title 2 of Republic Act 7277, otherwise known as Magna Carta for Disabled Persons, with new sections 32 and 33 to read as follows. Chapter 8. Persons with disabilities shall be entitled to the following: at least 20% discount from all establishments relative to the utilization of all services in hotels and similar lodging establishments, restaurants, and recreation centers for the exclusive use of or enjoyment of persons with disability. A minimum of 20% discount on admission fees charged by theaters, cinema houses, concert halls, circuses, carnivals, and other similar places of culture, leisure, and amusement for the exclusive use of enjoyment of persons with disability. At least 20% discount for the purchase of medicines in all drugstores for the exclusive use or enjoyment of persons with disability. At least 20% discount on medical and dental services, including diagnostic and laboratory fees such as, but not limited to, X-rays, computerized tomography scans, and blood tests in all government facilities, subject to guidelines to be issued by the Department of Health in coordination with the Philippine Health Insurance Corporation or PhilHealth. At least 20% discount on fare for domestic air and sea travel for the exclusive use or enjoyment of persons with disability. At least 20% discount in public railways, skyways, and bus fare for the exclusive use and enjoyment of persons with disability. Educational assistance to persons with disability for them to pursue primary, secondary, tertiary, post-tertiary, as well as vocational or technical education in both public and private schools through the provision of scholarships, grants, financial aids, subsidies, and other incentives to qualified persons with disability, including support for books, learning material, and uniform allowance to the extent feasible. Chapter 1, Deliverance from Public Ridicule. For purposes of this chapter, public ridicule shall be defined as an act of making fun or contemptuous imitating or making mockery of persons with disability, whether in writing or in words, or in action due to their impairments. No individual, group, or community shall execute any of these acts of ridicule against persons with disability in any time and place, which could intimidate or result in loss of self-esteem of the latter. Chapter 2, Deliverance from Vilification. For purposes of this chapter, vilification shall be defined as the utterance of slanderous and abusive statements against a person with disability and or an activity in public which incites hatred towards serious contempt for or severe ridicule of persons with disability. Any individual, group, or community is hereby prohibited from vilifying any person with disability which could result into loss of self-esteem of the latter. Any person who violates any provision of this act shall suffer the following penalties. For the violation, a fine of not less than 50,000 pesos but not exceeding 100,000 pesos, or imprisonment of not less than 6 months but not more than 2 years, or both at the discretion of the court. Any person who abuses the privileges granted herein shall be punished with imprisonment of not less than 6 months, or a fine of not less than 5,000 pesos, but not more than 50,000 pesos, or both at the discretion of the court. If the violator is a corporation, organization, or any similar entity, the officials thereof directly involved shall be liable thereof. If the violator is an alien or a foreigner, he shall be deported immediately after service of sentence without further deportation proceedings. Thank you so much for listening, and we hope you have learned something from this video.